You remember my my son, who is not biologically my son, Will Hoover, that we had on the old show. I connected him with a guy that I met in Orlando last August at a big podcast festival, who is actually from the Bay Area. He's actually lives in Oakland or something. But I told him a little bit of Will's story at the time, and he said, can you connect me, because I'd like to talk to him. His podcast is called This Is Actually Happening, and it's what's implied. There's a word missing there. There's like, this shit is actually happening. It's like, can you believe like this thing that happened to me? Yeah. And so it's usually broader than one incident. You know, people talk about like what their lives leading up to whatever the thing that happened, and then kind of what's happened since then. So that's what this is. It's an episode of his show. It's called What If You Were a Human Shield, which is reflective of the experience. But Will, the way that he does the show, most of the time, I think, is that he sends a recorder to the person, and then they do the interview on Skype or whatever, and then he cuts himself out, and so it's like an hour-long monologue, and you know the person is answering a question, but the answers are self-contained enough that it all flows together.
Probably sounds not eerie, but probably puts a different tone on the whole thing for sure.
It's more emotional for sure. And I mean, it was emotional for me because he was talking about stuff that happened, like that I was involved in, and talking about me and my family. You know. But so I put that up for people to. I put some links up on our feed. For people to check out. I think that people with military background, anybody that's actually been in the one of the theaters of operations in the Middle East would understand. Anybody who's been like injured in that situation, and plus anybody that's actually had a major
been in a hospital bed for a long time.
Major physical injury in a hospital bed, and the whole thing. It's
I can't relate to any of that. Even just going to the hospital for a night visiting a friend or something is the worst experience ever. I can't imagine.
I don't like hospitals at all.
No, it's the worst. It's the worst. I don't know why. Maybe the new ones will be nice. We're making a big old new one here, but like they have like a vibe about them, and maybe that's just because of the history of they are. But everything's so like, and I get it's got to be white and clean and stuff, but something you step in there, like, man, nothing good happens here.
I'm okay with a super clean look for sure, but it's the smells get me.
Yeah.
And then what will completely destroy me is seeing somebody who is sick and they're in. Clearly they're in a bad way, you know, or seeing a family members being just distraught. Those things kill me.
And I guess because I'm not like a dad, probably, who knows, but probably won't be a dad. I got no physical issues. I just don't see myself being a dad. Everything works as far as I know. Yeah. But you
take note, everyone.
I don't know if it works. I guess I've never. So I guess the only good thing that comes out of hospitals is people get it, like they call their little kid a miracle or whatever. My point being, is I've never gone to a hospital and anything awesome happened. Right, so I pull up to McDonald's and I get very excited because I know at the end of this drive I'm getting a McFlurry in my hand. They take my credit card, I get a McFlurry. We're just big dogs, right? You get a little response stimulus, right? Yeah. The stimulus of going to a hospital for me has never been a good outcome.
Right.
Never once. Right? For you've had some kids, so maybe there's a hair of memory of like, oh, hospitals have something cool in here.
Yeah.
I mean, your poor wife works there, so like she, you know, like that's kind of better, I guess, because you get desensitized, and she makes money, and she's seen good things and bad things. But like for me, like it's literally just bad.
Yeah, I mean, she had a little break because she was supposed to be going to Canada, and that trip was canceled at kind of the last minute, very wisely, because I think she would have gotten stuck there. And then when she went back to work after that, like it was super stressful right away.
Yeah.
Because
chaos.
Yeah, and they had patients and that were rule out and whatever. She so far has not worked with any patients that have tested positive. So there's that. That's a positive thing. But like everyone was so stressed initially, thinking it was going to get worse here. I don't think it's going to get particularly worse here. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I know they're still managing for the worst, though. I know some of my friends applied for it, so they have crisis contracts here in Sacramento. So they're planning for something.
Yeah,
they're planning for something, but I guess rather plan for the worst. But yeah, I don't know either. But I don't want to go to the hospital when things aren't crazy, and I definitely don't want to go to the hospital now.
My experience is like I had 2 hernia surgeries when I was a teenager. That was, it's an overnight hospital day. Yeah. It just, they say it's more genetic than it is anything else. You just you have a little bit of hereditary muscle weakness there, and it just tears through. And then the kids, and then like after Sam, like a week later, my wife had a terrible hemorrhage situation, and so that was really scary.
Yeah.
But it resolved very quickly, and it was obviously resolved well.
Right. Still not good experience.
Yeah, not good experience. My dad was sick off and on for years before he finally died of cancer. But his last trip to the hospital, that was pretty awful. My mom's last trip to the hospital, pretty awful. My wife had pneumonia a few years ago. It was a good outcome, but there was so much stress in the moment. Sure. All that stuff is really drilled into my
bad memory.
Yeah, and then all the time that I spent in the hospital we're talking about Will earlier, with him at Walter Reed, and then
sometimes I feel like those ones, and I can't relate because it's not that much, but like my friend was in there for like his appendix, I think actually burst. They didn't catch it early, so he was there for like 5 days opposed to overnight.
Yeah.
And you get like a little desensitized even then.
Yeah.
Or my grandma broke her hip, and she was old when she did it, so she was there extra long rather than just a quick surgery. And like I was young too, so that probably played an effect. But yeah, you're there like every day for like 3 days, then it's like a little more normal. Well, I'd assume, like with Will, rather than if you're there once and like it's chaos ensuing, then you're like, the stress is high, it's high. Yeah. Like that sucks.
Yeah, it was that actually those two, this was back to 2014. Those 2 instances were the most stressful, even more stressful than my parents.
Yeah.
Because with Will, it was suddenly just a whole lot of responsibility because he was not capable of making decisions on his own.
Yeah.
That's really.
Wild. Right.
He thought he had more control over his thought process than he did. He didn't. And then with my grandson, when he was born, there were complications after he was born, and he was in the hospital for 26 days or something like that. It was a long time on a ventilator part of that time and stuff, and that was super scary. That was like
yeah, I've never dealt with it. I think my grandma passed at her caretaker's home. All the other passings or deaths that I went with, good or bad, were always like out of the norm, which is a whole nother negative experience. But I've never had like the hang out in a hospital, and which I guess
So like shout out to all the folks who are working in hospitals in highly impacted areas in the United States and abroad.
Yeah,
Italy, Spain, France.
The Prime Minister.
Oh, and in England, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's still so just weird too, because again, like I think because we're in America, because I'm raised middle class, like a lot of these things, and all of us, right? We're stuck at home, so like a lot of these things aren't like they're clearly impacting us. But even me, like seeing my bank account be down or something, like those things are like impacting me. But it's not the same when you're on the front lines talking about war,
right?
Or talking about like everyone's shoving their fists in the air, like America should go to war, we shouldn't go to war, or what. I don't know any of this. I don't know any of this impact firsthand. What my thought is on all of this is so different than the nurse working in New York right now.
Right.
My thought on who's president because this guy wants oil and this guy doesn't want oil is so different than what Will went through flying over there.
Yeah.
Like it's so detached. And like that's the good and bad thing of the internet, right? Like I'm safe. I'm lucky. I'm very privileged, but I've never experienced many of these absolute chaos that's going on right now. We can't relate. Like you can maybe a little more than me because you live with your wife and your wife's dealing with every day. Your wife can definitely do it more than us. And then this poor nurse that's in New York City is getting crushed. Like it's just so different. And who knows, because I don't want to be that guy, but like fake news or whatever. There is a lot of headlines, Twitter journalists, and who knows. But there's all these videos that go around of like nurses crying, saying they can't get medical equipment. And my mom's really good friend works at a hospital here. I don't even know what she is. She's like next level smart, like doctor of radiation something, like big brain. And she's like, yeah, we're running out of stuff. Like, we're just running out of stuff. She didn't, not like masks. Yeah, like just stuff. We're running out. Like, it's going to get weird.
Yeah, because some of that stuff is sourced from different places, like masks, like came from
China.
Yeah, and then like right now, supposedly, we're not supposed to be exchanging goods with Canada, except if you want to make masks not in Asia, where's the wood pulp come from? It comes from Canada, folks.
Right.
So
and that's like the kind of cool thing. And again,
also toilet paper, but that's another.
Yeah, raw materials are obviously, we have them here, but we don't have the manufacturing for them here. But it is cool. Going back to our past podcast with human behavioralist, is that a thing? We were talking of when people step up and they don't. You hear all these companies trying to do things like Oakley Sunglasses is now trying to make like a face shade. New Balance is making face guards. Nike's starting to make some kind of mask, which is cool to see. And some of it might be business virtue signaling, but beside the point, good is coming of it. I
have not been wearing a mask out of the house. I have N95s in the house because of remodeling and stuff, and so I could wear one, but the N95 seem overkill at this point.
Yeah, that's all my mom has. She said.
Yeah, well, that's completely appropriate though.
And then she's like, "Am I going to get?" We're not supposed to have these, and she's like, it's 5 years old, that's okay, right? I'm like, Mom, fuck them, like just fucking wear it, I get Mom, like she's worried about the nurses not having it. She's like, it's 5 years old. I was like, yeah, then wear it.
Yeah, and she's had some health challenges in the last 6 months or something like that. Just like
rock that
she's fine. She's fine. And I had a few extras given to my in-laws. They're not supposed to really be going anywhere, but if they do, they can
I bought one. Shout out to our boys over at Official, local company. They just made it like a normal cloth one. I was like, it's $9. Like, I'll support a local company and I'll wear one when even though I literally haven't left my house. But
it's going to take a couple of weeks before I get mine, but I ordered one. I saw Mike Beach posted about Sport Kilt is making them.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
and cool. They made them for a bunch of first responders, and now they're selling them, and because they have a bunch of extra scrap fabric and they're not making kilts at the moment, you can get them in your tartan.
Scottish,
so I ordered in
mask.
I ordered in my Titan, so tartan. So you know that
it's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because some good things are happening. Otherwise, nothing's happened in my life. I just did a shout out to our boy Matt McLeod, who was on here. We talked about game changers and the vegan stuff, and he just had me on his podcast previous to this, and we had a really good talk about a lot of different things. Authenticity and content creating and business and the current state and the general state and who's real, who's not, who's highly edited, who's shallow, who's in it for the right reasons, et cetera, et cetera. But which is good. He led a great discussion because I got nothing going on in my life right now. I'm playing a lot of video games. Me and Jim are trying to talk about what we're going to talk to. I'm going to reach out to our boy Brandon Campbell, the king,
Brandon Campbell Diamond
of home gyms.
Yes.
So we'll hopefully talk to him soon. But I mean, there's not a lot going on in the world. A lot of people aren't deadlifting. A lot of people aren't squatting. Hopefully people are eating healthy. I'm putting out some YouTube content here and there. But even that, I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
Twitch is good because we can talk about nothing.
Yeah.
We're talking about
doesn't have to be about anything in particular. It doesn't have to be themed.
Yeah. It's hard. Everything's sold out. I was thinking about, still debating on the home equipment situation. Everything's sold out. And I thought about buying a home spin bike just because the weather's been iffy here. So I can't ride my bike outside. And then even if the weather is nice, I'm being real with myself. Like, I just don't want to ride a bike by myself right now. It's just not the mood. Some motivation, all that. It's just not there to go on like an hour-long bike ride by myself.
Right.
But I was like, if I had a house spin bike, turn on Family Guy or something stupid in the background. I could probably shit around for a little bit. So I might do that.
I noticed that Rogue is out of their bikes. Yeah, well, everything.
Like
but
everything racks, I think. Like everything from everyone's almost gone.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I noticed that Sornex made a very simple rack.
Yeah. Bert reached out to me about that too a little bit. It looks great. It's affordable. Anybody can get it. I think it's like $350.
Yeah.
You bolt it onto anything. It looks really cool actually. It's not like the most functional rack because those J hooks aren't adjustable, so you might be in between heights, but like it's fucking sick. And it looks cool to me.
It's fine. I have zero place for one, but
yeah, me too. That's why he asked. I think he was going to send me one. I was like, I just don't know how like my garage works because I don't have like a typical garage. It's like,
oh, okay.
Like I'm sure I could probably hang it, but I don't know. I'm in like this.
Not having seen your garage, I don't know.
I'm in like this house condo deal. I'm sure there is a stud you could hang it to, but then I was just like, yeah, man, I have a bunch of shit in there. I was like, I don't know if I have room. Whatever. Shout out to Bert for being a good dude.
Yeah, no kidding. I really like the video that he did for it too.
Yeah, he's just like, real.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a regular person. And even a couple months ago, we had somebody reach out to us, an advertising agency, about doing some ads on the show for a piece of equipment, but we would had to have had it installed in our house. And now I didn't have a place for it.
Yeah.
But now I kind of wish I did. Although I have to say, when I was bringing this table up here, I can't remember if I talked about this in the lead up to the last episode, but I felt like I had torn my bicep tendon like a lot.
I mean, it's
like
a big table.
Felt it. I felt it pulling on the inside. It's like,
there's like Jim's house is like pretty unique looking. Actually, it's really cool. It's got like a culture. It's got maybe not culture is not the vibe, but it does. But what term? Character.
Yeah, it's got
character. It's got like real shit about it. And so we're in a loft right now, but the stairway up here is super cool, but it's not very functional.
No, it's really not.
It's functional for like a one human. Yeah. But like two people can't get on there, let alone getting like equipment up here.
Yeah, it's a spiral, like all wood spiral staircase that was installed sometime in the late 70s or early 80s.
But it looks dope.
Out of the back of a Sunset magazine or something like that. Have you ever seen those? The company that I think makes them still is called York, not the Barbell Company, but
I think they have we're just plugging away every company. I think they have racks. I was randomly looking again on Twitch. Really? It doesn't matter what the hell you do. So someone in my chat's like, "Hey, I need a squat rack. What do you recommend?" I was like, "Well, no one sponsors me, so let's go find one." I started shopping online for them. Craigslist, some stuff's wild. Alan threw something in his story. Someone's selling I found one on Craigslist too. I was looking. Shout out my boy Bibby. I was looking. He lives in the Houston area. He's like, "Man, should I get a squat rack? You think?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll help you buy one." So again, live on Twitch, shopping on Craigslist. There was like the most rusted rank squat rack I've ever seen. They're selling it for like $3,000. What? And I'm like, well, no
That's
idiot's gonna buy
that.
It was the worst. No, it was like I would be scared the metal would hold a barbell. It was so busted. I'm like, dude, you people suck.
I saw somebody made a squat rack out of lumber, which like in 5-gallon cans. I think that's very dangerous.
I think someone made it. I think someone made a YouTube. I don't know who. And I'm sorry if it is one of our friends, but it doesn't seem very smart. Yeah, they made it like a squat rack out of 2x4s or 4x4s.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're staying at like 225 or something.
Yeah, if you're keeping the weights low.
Yeah, but even still, it's like metal against wood just seems sketchy.
Yeah.
Where are you leaning that thing? I don't know. At the end of the day, and I hate it because I know I'm like a figurehead-ish. I got a voice here in the fitness industry, but like it's just not that serious to me. That's another thing I talked to Matt about. I was like, bro, every day, let alone in our current state of the world, no one needs to deadlift 600 pounds. No. We got cranes and we got forklifts, and this is not needed. Now, do I think lifting has some deeper, self-awareness, self-growth? Obviously some physical benefits, right? Bone density, health, letting out some of this energy, 100%. But like it's 1,000,000,000% in a disposable industry, really. Yeah. And it's making it apparent now. And I understand a lot of you guys are really into it, and you miss the gym, you miss your alone time. It's one of your number one hobbies, an identity for some of you guys, a community for some of you guys. I get it. I've been there. I am in the middle of it, but it's just one, I'm not that motivated too. So I guess I can't relate at this point. I'm not that hungry for a barbell, but I don't know. I just think of other things. More things are taking up my head right now than me getting my hands on a barbell as soon as I can.
I am. So anyway, I heard this thing and I got immediately in contact with Jacob Ross and said, "What do I do now?" So I've been doing like every day the stuff that he said. It still hurts, but like the first 24 hours were the worst. It really but continuing to move it, which is exactly what I did not want to do.
Sure.
Because I wanted to just put it in a sling and let it hang here and pray that it didn't hurt and never touch it. What I was afraid of was that I had torn the bicep tendon, and I was like faced with the decision of just letting it be or having surgery in this environment. And whether or not that would be considered elective, or whether anybody would actually do it. Those are all, big questions. And luckily that didn't happen. So it's been a little bit over 2 weeks. It's still
tender.
Quite tender. And it's not just the upper tendon. It's the upper insertion, the lower insertion, the whole muscle.
Yeah.
And then my forearm too.
Yeah.
So it's like not a goodie. I got bands. I'm doing stuff like with that. I'm doing range of motion stuff for the glenohumeral joint. I did, that's pretty much what I got. Some bodyweight squats, and that's the whole story right now.
Yeah, I've done nothing. I was trying to do some push-ups and I just gave up. We were starting to do a team bike ride. We did like 3 days, then it started raining. We were doing a household bike ride and then went to shits.
I'm not a bike guy for the most part, like exercise bike, but regular bikes, because I'm allergies 1 and number 2. Like I tried to get into it 20 something years ago. Really tried to that'll be really cool. I was living near the trail and it was like, this is going to be awesome. And then I discovered that like I get sciatica in my right leg, and to the point that I can't like walk afterwards because of the stupid seats.
They're not always the most comfortable, that's for damn sure.
Oh, they're really not.
Yeah.
And so I just, I sort of gave up on that, in the same way that I gave up on diving because my sinuses don't respond well to the depth. Yeah.
Some people, I mean, runners, I guess this is like runner's heaven. You just get to run everywhere all day. No, you could probably run in the middle of the fucking road. even though driving around downtown, still it's pretty like popping. Like it feels like a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Which is like, so we live in the capital of California, for those that don't know, and Jim and I live pretty close-ish to the capital itself. And so like that's buzzing during the week. Monday through Friday, state workers, politicians, coffee shops, everything's buzzing in that neighborhood. And our whole downtown isn't that big. It's mostly made up by the state. And Sundays, brunch is pretty big here. We got a lot of food and stuff. So brunch, you might see some people out around noon if the weather's nice. Saturday nights, obviously, you're busy like any other city. We have bars and stuff. But Sunday days are kind of deadish. And that's what it feels like every day now. Which isn't that, it doesn't feel eerie to me. Where people say like, there's pictures, and again, who knows, right? We're not going to go into conspiracy theories, don't you worry. But people say you don't know when a picture's dated or whatever. But there's empty pictures in New York going around. It doesn't feel like that here to me. Like there's cars, there's people,
There's a really awesome one that some drone footage that they did in LA, and then there's another one that's like cities around the world. Like they're not completely empty, but they're pretty empty.
Yeah, and ours doesn't feel crazy to me. Me and Connor said this. I think if I never went to the radio and was totally isolated my whole life, and I drove on the street, I wouldn't think what's going on is going on, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I would think it's kind of normal. A bunch of the regular shops are kind of closed, but like a lot of our industry is probably going to hurt like everybody else because we have a lot of mom and pop type restaurants here. They named us now the Farm to Fork capital, whatever the hell that means. So we have a lot of local food, local bars, even local like little clothing shops, which are really cool. But like everybody else, every other city is probably going to struggle, but it doesn't feel that strange, I guess. I guess the impact, what I'm saying, going back to being not on the front lines of this thing, the impact, I think, is still to be really felt by many. You can easily escape from this thing, going back to our last podcast. You can easily kind of get around, again, looking at my bank account, things are a little weird, looking at, my even my personal, obviously, progress in the gym, progress with some of the projects me and Jim had going, obviously all that's like stopped, but it's not like so in your face.
Right.
So I don't feel this, but who knows what might happen 6 months, 8 months, 10 months.
Had we been a month or so further along with one of that project they were working on, it might have been very, very challenging right now.
Could get weird.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I know. This ended up actually relating to this consulting project I'm working on, but I was an article yesterday or the day before in local business journal about independent physicians.
Yeah.
There are how do I say this? There are physicians that are completely independent. They run their own practice and they don't really do much of anything except for they might contract through an independent practice association, an IPA. So they're not in a staff. They're not. They don't work for hospital. They don't work for Kaiser. Company. Yeah. That a lot of them may not come back because most of our hospitals are not doing elective surgeries, and they're not seeing people who aren't really, really sick in their offices. Their offices are largely closed. I have a friend who's a dentist in Maryland, and she's been closed for weeks. Yeah. And applying for programs, the recovery programs and stuff in the hopes of keeping it all together. But with physicians, particularly the ones that are close to retirement age anyway, they may not come back. Yeah. It might not be worth it.
Yeah, you can't really do some of that online, maybe, right? Like we talked about, maybe some therapy people can do online and maybe some basic checkups. I think I'm no doctor, but I assume some things just have to be done in person. And if you can't go in person or it's highly recommended not to and it's not an emergency, then again, a lot of these companies, like even construction, right? Downtown Sacramento was booming. We're putting up new hotels left and right, and they're still doing a lot of construction right now. Probably just in hopes and prayers, because we're talking $100 million projects, right? Like a lot of money. They're not going to just stop that, but they may suffer. They could build this thing and no one go to a hotel for a year. I mean, like, we literally just don't know what's going to happen. It's a weird place to be about and think about. There's movies. There's no fucking movies coming out.
Yeah.
That industry's hit, right? Hollywood's not putting out TV shows. I think the whole next Marvel phase, they moved to 2021, or they delayed them all. Like, everything's being delayed, you know? So, like, and I get it, because people can't go to movie theaters. So how are you supposed to premiere a movie? You're going to lose money. But, like, what do we do? Netflix is so powerful, and all these things are so powerful, and there's nice TVs out there that aren't that expensive. For all we know, the movie industry's dead. You know, or not dead, but like Cinemarks might be dead. Like, who knows?
I heard that AMC may not be back.
There's a big article. I only grazed it, but they're talking about the big dogs of the Macy's, the Walmarts, like. That's hard. I think a couple states are making Targets and Walmarts only sell essentials now. Yep. Even though they technically have a bunch in there. And that was a whole thing. I jokingly went on a fucking rant to our boy Matt earlier about, like, marijuana shops are open left and right. And I understand there's medical uses of that. Why the hell is recreational marijuana essential?
I think because people are going crazy.
Well, but even recreational liquor, like, I get it. If you go into the store, you're getting your loaf of bread, your eggs, and you grab a case of beer. All right, like, it kind of makes sense. I understand. I've had a little whiskey 4 or 5 nights ago. I get it. But, like, just a liquor store, that's essential? Just liquor?
Well, here's the thing. If you are somebody who is an inveterate drinker, say you are some flavor of an alcoholic, you do not want to stop drinking in an unsupervised way.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because you will end up in the hospital and you might die.
Yeah, well, and your own thoughts. Even if you're at the very end of that thing, now all of your emotions and thoughts are coming to fruition. Yeah. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it.
There's a movie from the 50s. It's a black and white movie. It's called Lost Weekend, and it's about a guy going through the DTs, withdrawal from alcohol, and he's lying in bed, and he sees, like, there's a little hole in the wall of his apartment, like near the ceiling. And there's a little mouse that's coming out of it. It's like, oh, cute little mouse. It's like, oh, it's cute. You know, he's sort of reacting to it. He's not talking. And you see it, oh, that's so cute. And then a bird flies through the window and attacks the mouse and kills it. And the blood runs down the wall. And it's like, that's horrifying. And then he looks again, and none of that was there.
Oh, no.
None of it happened.
Oh, like, no. Yeah. Wow. I don't think I've ever dealt with anything like that. I've never, like, done drugs. I've never done, like, people talking about, like, hallucinating. I can't relate. I would freak out. I think my head is so fucked up sober. I'm so scared of anything like that happening, you know? Like, I don't even like being drunk. Like, you know, people are like, well, if it gets you hammered, I'm going to drink it. They're like, no, like, I'm going to have a drink or two, loosen up a little bit, and that's about it. I don't like that feeling of being out of control, or let alone the come down, let alone the addiction. But like, whatever people are into, whatever the people are into, I'm not into it. Whatever you people out there are doing, I'm not down.
I'm okay with drinking. I don't drink it a ton.
Yeah.
You know, right now I'm probably having 3 beers a week, which is a lot more than normal. But I can go. I will go months without thinking about it.
Yeah. And I think that's a big deal, right? How you obsess and think about it. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I had like 2 whiskey cokes or something the other day, and that's a lot for like a week. Yeah, that's a lot. But that's in an entire week.
Yeah. But there are people who are they're dealing with it differently, and who drink all the time, and you just can't cut off the supply of alcohol for those people. It is like my wife's a nurse, obviously, and in the hospital they have a saying, it's just never stop drinking.
Sure.
Because if a patient is in the hospital and they are not getting alcohol, they could lose them there. So like they can give it to them IV or whatever, so that keep them from having. It's not whiskey, but anyway.
I'll take a little IV of whiskey. I mean, again, a lot of stuff we touched on, but there's so much more to go into it in our last podcast. Who knows the repercussions, acute and chronic, of the mental state of the world.
Yeah,
not only Americans, the world from being so isolated. Because it's sad. Like, you have your wife, which is great, and I've at least Connor and Kyle. I got some kind of human contact, but there's a lot of people with like 0 people going around.
Yeah,
and it can get weird. Humans are tribal creatures.
Yeah, I think that would be really hard. We did a family Zoom the other day because my mother-in-law was driving the bus on that. Really wanted to do it, and it actually ended up being cooler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was, we had some issues with getting everybody on the same chat at the same time.
Technological issues.
Yeah. But, and it just randomly cuts you off after 40 minutes if you're just doing the free version, which is a thing. Like I wanted to do a FaceTime or whatever.
Sure.
But,
it is what it is.
Yeah. They don't have my in-laws don't have a Mac like desktop, and so
phone might be on a die phone anyways.
There'd be a phone or iPad or whatever, and they want to be able to see everybody very clearly. So but that was good. And then and other members of the family are like, can we just do this every week for a while now, just so that we stay connected? And we were talking about it because nobody's in a particularly bad state.
Sure,
like nobody's got a lot going on with them directly. Everyone's just sheltered.
Yeah.
And whatever. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. Connor, can you just like switch to the computer for a second here? Right here. This is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number. It's 1-800-273-8255. And if you are someone who is alone or feeling alone and you're feeling desperately about not continuing in this plane of existence, give them a call.
Yeah.
They can point you towards resources. They can help talk you through the moment. There's a lot of what happens, I think, with suicide, and I'm just talking out of my ass, but I have read about this some, where it's more of a momentary impulse for some people. Other people, it's a plan. But for some people, it's just I feel so terrible right now. I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah. And these times are extreme. Yeah, I'm even thinking about masking up and just doing like hanging out with my mom in our backyard. Keep some distance because I haven't seen her in like 3 weeks, and she's one of the ones that are just all alone. I'm like, fuck, man. Like she's probably.
You should probably go see her.
Yeah, that's why I thought a backyard, mask on, dog will probably attack me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it sucks. It sucks for a lot of people. I mean, it sucks, and there's nothing about it. But we can whine, or we can just keep doing what we got to do, and hopefully get it over with a little quicker. Seems like projections are good, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, for us in California, things are not so bad.
Yeah.
Just because we got locked down early.
Yeah.
Our governor announced yesterday that they've made a deal to get 200 million masks a month into the state starting 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
soon enough.
We just had to get to that point. We're not projected to run out of ICU beds or ventilators in California right now, just because we've been locked down.
Yeah.
Like the economy is completely stalled, but everyone's still, not everyone, but most people are still alive, and it's not spreading that fast.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's the long-term stuff that's weird. Was it 10? I think 10.6 people applied for unemployment over the last 3 weeks.
People, yeah,
which is scary. It's scary numbers, things that obviously none of this ever happened. And I was listening to some business talk and some political radio and whatever. And yeah, it's different. It's different than the economy like taking a hit or like supply and demand or some basic things happening. The loans, but like literally we just took it, our world and our economy and just unplugged it for a second.
Yeah.
So like. It's going to take a while to warm that puppy up, and who knows? I don't think anybody, obviously there's people much more intelligent than me on the topic, but no one knows how it's going to play out. But
there's a trial balloon about playing all of the baseball season, a shortened baseball season in Arizona, where it's going to hot as fuck.
I think they're talking, I think Dana White, and I don't think it's a meme, I don't know, because again, I'm just on Twitter and shit sometimes. I think Dana White's trying to get some UFC fights on an island.
Oh no, that's true. That's really happening. Yeah, I haven't seen the example, but it's an island that's outside of the U.S. territory, so it's not under federal or state control.
How are they even going to fly there? I don't know. Who knows what these people are doing? But you got to do what you got to do. I mean, that's an industry that can keep going, I guess, right? Because they go on pay-per-view.
But they got to do a lot of rigorous testing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you could fight with somebody. I mean, that is super intimate. That's
at least it's only a couple people. It's with no audience. I guess. I mean, that's why everything else canceled, right? You do a football season. You got 40 dudes on each team plus 100,000 in the crowd. Things are weird, but UFC, I guess, you do a couple no coaches, maybe one coach each and one fighter each.
WrestleMania just just happened. They did 2
really?
days. Yeah, they did 2 days of WrestleMania over the weekend. Yeah, and no audience.
That's awkward. I guess that's another one though. It's highly TV based.
Yeah.
And basketball and stuff too. Obviously, they get a bunch of views, but it's so interactive, and there's more players. Wrestling's a little weird though. That's a little weird to the WWE in my opinion. But because basketball, you got 10 per team, a lot of coaches, a lot of dudes, plus the audience. I don't know, man. It's all just weird. It's all just weird.
Yeah, I agree. So, the elephant in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
I got this. You ready?
Yeah.
I don't know where you're going, how deep you're going to go, but I
don't know either.
I was talking about this with Matt McLeod also, and it's we can tie it into Kaepernick. We can tie it into a lot of different levels. But when you have a voice, when you have a public figure, I was talking about this with Omar actually. You have a public figure. And nowadays, our public figures are so different than they used to be, right? You're talking 60s, 70s, 80s. It's political people, it's leaders, it's athletes to some extent, right? The Muhammad Ali's, people like that really made big statements. Actors and actresses somewhat, but they didn't have the same stage, right? Because they didn't have social media themselves. But nowadays, what's turned to... there's a lot more voices and a lot more, obviously, censorship hasn't really been that much of a thing, right? Because we live in America, right? And the age of the internet. So when you have a following, when you have public figures, YouTube otherwise, even in Kaepernick, and I've gone over this argument in my own head. I don't even know where I stand, but where does your responsibility lie? Where does your voice lie? And how much do you use your platform then? That again, Kaepernick's just like the easy fruit, right? He went to the Super Bowl in his first season. He's insanely explosive, charismatic dude, got a big following, and then he decided to use his platform as a professional athlete to make a political statement or to make a statement that he believes in. Now, where does that lie everywhere else? And I don't know myself. Like not that I'm not political. I listen to tons of radio and I stay pretty up to date on things, but I'm not overly opinionated. If you guys followed anything we've done here or my YouTube, or like I'm pretty, yes, I like to see both sides. No matter what, I like to see both sides. When we're talking, oh, you must box squat. No, you can't box squat. I've never been like, right, I've always kind of been the gray area guy. And I'm very much like that in my life. Politically, it's not that I don't have a backbone. It's just that I see both sides on a lot of things. And so I'm also aware of why people listen to me. Maybe they think I'm stupid. Maybe they think I'm funny. Maybe they think they can learn something, or I'm semi-entertaining. And so I try to give that. They don't listen to me to make a statement about, I don't know, whatever, technology or whatever, right? They don't listen to me for that. Now, counter to that, I think I completely understand people that are passionate about something, gaining a following for boxing, and then wanting to use their platform that they earned for fighting a fight that's outside of their topic. I get it. I don't know if that's for me, but I understand it. A Kaepernick, a Muhammad Ali, some guys in the NBA are really about that. LeBron James was a big advocate, I think, for police brutality and stuff over the last couple of years. Now, the one that I am, and I've talked about this forever, I tweeted about this 6 years ago. I said, anyone that has and I just made this up, but 10,000 followers on any platform, you should be forced to go to a public relations seminar. Oh
yeah, like when guys get drafted in the NBA or NFL or probably Major League Baseball too, where they do a PR thing where they tell you like, this is how you manage relationships with the public, and you can talk about a particular thing that you care about, and it doesn't have. Even a game or whatever, it doesn't have to be as vanilla as the Luke LaLoosh comments in Bull Durham, where he just basically said nothing. It doesn't have to be like that, but like just be sensitive about what you say. And
and if you're not charismatic at talk, don't talk about it. And if you're not good at writing, don't write about it,
right?
Or whatever. But what I am sure about is the silly or not silly, deeper Spiderman line, right? With great power is great responsibility.
Yeah,
and I think that if you're a YouTuber, if you're an Instagrammer, a podcast host, if you're a comedian, if you're a basketball player, I don't really care. And obviously this is huge scales. We're not comparing what we do to a political person or to Muhammad Ali, but the scales to this thing. I do think that if you're going to reap any benefit from what you do, money, popularity, sponsorships, free shit, whatever you're going to do, if you're going to reap any benefit from what you do, you also have to be a responsible human, a moral human, with what you're doing. I think I've done a good job at that. That's something that I've been self-aware enough from the beginning. I got on Instagram and the podcast came out with Jim back in the day. I started getting some following. I'm like, I got to make sure I'm doing my best to put out the best fitness information. I got to make sure that when I make a joke or a funny video or I'm trying to do a skit, that I'm not offending people, that I'm not being rude, that I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. I got to be aware, and I've probably been wrong. There's no doubt that I've made mistakes, but they're never on purpose. But I got to make sure that who I associate with is who I believe in, and that's why I do majority of my business with Jim, majority of my business with Omar Esau, and that's, you know, like my circle is small, but there's the people that I believe are on the same moral compass as me, and that's who I associate with. Even on this podcast, like who we may have on, who we may not have, we do some research and see like what are their beliefs. We're not going to come on here and answer, does sugar make you fat? And then go find someone with zero credentials or that's off the ripper, right? Like we want someone that has some study background, some applicable background, and has some validity to what they have to say. And I guess that's my TED Talk for the day.
Well, you know, we met in a situation, and I feel like I created a situation along with your help and others where we did have a platform, and not everybody that we dealt with treated the platform with the same reverence that you and I did.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, sadly not uncommon.
It's not uncommon, yeah. And that obviously has happened again with somebody that we don't actually interact with anymore. I got a lot of messages from people I've known for a really long time who came to me and said, "What the fuck?" And all I could say is, you know, it wouldn't have happened on my watch. I wouldn't have agreed to platform someone who had an anti-science opinion. This show is built around the fact that you and I are not people who are experts on things. We bring in experts to tell us, and we vet that, as you said, like we look at what their actual qualifications are, and
their content and their past, and
and we've passed on, you know, almost as many people as we've had in terms of, you know, and we get pitches all the time from people, and I don't understand the drive for hype. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't know. And again, not that we're CNN here, although our last guest was on CNN. You know, I don't want to be a doctor, and I don't want to be a quote unquote like science podcast. I want to be entertaining and I want to be funny, but I also don't want to be TMZ.
Right.
And by all means, if you're a content creator, there's sadly, like some of the biggest YouTube content creators ever are drama guys. They do drama between YouTubers or drama between actors, and TMZ's obviously ratings are probably not so good right now, but generally speaking, they're probably really good. And at the end of the day, it is all legal. It's all legal, and it's all what you want to brand yourself. It's all who you are, I guess, hopefully. And I guess that's the number one. And shout out Matt McLeod a million times, but he the nicest thing the best compliment I've ever got, probably, he just said like you're always you. I was like, well, thanks, dude. Like, I think so. And like, that seems like not a good compliment. Like, it seems like a whatever compliment, but and I'm by no means like big on the internet, but I have a following on the internet, and I don't think a lot of people are them.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm me on my Instagram, I'm me here, I'm me on my Twitch, I'm me on my YouTube. Do I do like skits and act, or do I rev it up, rev it down? Yeah, but I've never not been me. I think for 9 years of this thing, and that is something that I kind of wear with a badge of honor, and I think there's very few of us in that crowd. And I'm not hating on you if you suck. Maybe you are being you and you suck. You know, that might be a lot of people too. I don't know, but I'm maybe too analytical, but I think about everything we put out. I think about how we put it out, how it's going to be taken. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, and it's not just PR. It's not just to always make me look good. It's because we have that responsibility. It's not always just what will 50% facts the brand elevate. It's, you know, that's not why we overthink these things. We overthink these things because we know there's a lot of potential listeners. We know there's a lot of you guys tuning in, and we know what we say do has an impact. And I take that responsibility seriously, like Jim said, and I think we always have, and hopefully we always will. Now, will we make mistakes? Maybe, Maybe we have a fuck up. Maybe I say something that offended someone. Maybe we have a guest on that offended someone. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that we will be perfect. We may fuck up down the road. But if and when that does happen, I'll probably just come in here and say like, yo, I fucked up.
Well, I mean, it's been observed that you and I were in the old show kind of often the straight men and in the situation. I do
like Goyles.
Yeah, I don't mean like that, but yeah, that too. Yeah, because we were like, they're sort of the reasonable people, and we don't have the unreasonable contrast on the show. It's you and I are not that different as people. We're different generations, but we're not dramatically different as people. So we're just not hype monsters. We're not actually ever trying to do that.
Yeah.
I think that hype and controversy work in much the same way as steroids.
Yeah.
They will amplify people, and whereas other people will get to the level of amplification without having to do that. I look at Alan Thrall, or Omar, or one of those people who did not. They never done like the hype.
They never played the game.
They've never played the game, and people.
I do agree.
Pretty much universally respect them.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that we're sort of like in the junior category of that, but still.
Yeah. I've talked about that too, and I talked about that to them too on the roundtable I did with them. I said, even though like many of you guys are highly successful and create amazing content, I've helped millions. They have videos with millions. Johnny Candido's another one. Omar, Alan. I was like, you guys do great things, and still, I don't think you're as big as you should be, and I still don't think cream rises to the top, and that's maybe me being jaded and a hater. But I think sadly the hype, the fakeness, the fake being real, the virtue signaling, the clickbaity, the drama, the extremism. Like who's popular on the radio and news? Take this out of YouTube. Who's popular in the radio and the news and politics? Who's popular in the radio and the news and business? It's the people that take these extreme ends. That's what people are drawn to. I don't know if that's human nature. I'm no sociologist, but right, like that's what's drawn to. And Omar and Alan spit science, and they spit kind of gray area. Like, can you get stronger doing this? Can you get stronger doing this? Yes. And sadly, they won't ever be the biggest. And that's again maybe me being jaded, but that's what sucks.
But they both have been really successful.
They crush. I mean, they combined, they probably have like 1.5 million subscribers or more. Like they've crushed it. But point being is there's fitness or other YouTubers that are still bigger, which is just trash to me, and that is where I get mad and jaded. But there are other ones that they just done it the right way, and like you said, I think they have a respect about them. I think all their viewers respect their opinion, respect what they say, and there's something to that. Even my Twitch or whatever, like I'd rather sit and connect and build a community of 20 people than have 100 people watch and not give a fuck.
Yeah, and
like not really care or not really believe what I say or not really be into it.
Right. And I think that we both understand the entertainment component of this stuff, and we understand that like we could say things differently and be more polarizing. I mean, part of it is being more polarizing, and part of the reason that we're sitting here a little bit biting our tongues is because there is no point in being polarizing about it. Yeah. There,
even on this topic right here, we just try to take the gray area and maybe teach a lesson, or maybe people see what's going on in big media, little media, YouTube, but that ain't me, and it probably won't ever be unless something changes.
I will say, and this is not purely shade, that sometimes when people are faced with somewhat desperate situations, they do stupid things.
It's just not the content I want to create. You know, that's what it comes down to too.
I don't want to be associated with it. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who are calling out, that person and that program, that platform on platforming someone who is a conspiracy theorist. And some people have done a good job of calling out. Other people have done a little bit of a milquetoast
I love conspiracy theories. I've been talking about them every single day.
I fucking love UFOs. I love the whole idea of UFOs, but I don't get on here and talk about it.
Right, and
because I'm not an expert. I'm not
right. And if we do a UFO expert maybe or podcast, and maybe we try to get some real experts. We get someone that's supposedly worked at Area 51, and we spit it to you like that. Kind of drapes down the Wizard of Oz deal, right? Like rather than saying like aliens exist and then having someone tell their story of aliens, we say, hey, We wonder if aliens exist.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to someone who may have seen them, right? It's how you frame things too.
I'm listening to a podcast about that right now, as a matter of fact. It's called Strange Arrivals. And it's about like the first couple who had that alien abduction kind of story.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It is very not, it's
and if you believe it, by all means.
They're not trying to get to the truth of it. They're telling the story of what happened. Sure. That's different.
And it is different if you believe in it, don't believe in it. We don't really care. By all means, you can have your own beliefs. It's just a matter of responsibility to the masses. It's different when you're having a conversation, and people argue this point too. And you can, again, have your own opinion on this too. But I think there's a different responsibility when when I'm in my kitchen having a conversation with Kyle and Connor, who are my roommates and my friends. Then right now, I'm having a conversation I'm having one with Jim, but we're having one with thousands of listeners. Yeah. There is a different tone and responsibility that you have, I believe. We can get political with it, but there's so many applications of that. And it's just, it's tone and it's how you frame things.
I think that if you are saying something that if people believe it and act upon it, they can be hurt by it.
Sure. Yeah, that's irresponsible. Yeah.
It's irresponsible.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just straight up. I
agree.
And you can say...
Yeah, it has to do with the results. Yeah, if we're talking about marshmallows are better than cookies, and that's what we want to go down, and there's no repercussions of it, or even slight potential repercussions of it, by all means, talk that fluff. But if there's real world applications that may have repercussions, I think it's not cool.
I think another story from the marketing world is something that they tell you when you are in a marketing curriculum, that it is easier to create a quality brand that maintains a standard and be able to have be able to sell at a premium than it is to take a low quality brand and to bring it up.
Sure.
But you can definitely downgrade the value of a brand by the way you treat it.
Sure.
If you treat it in a cheap way, then it'll downgrade, and you will generally not be able to bring it back up.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
So that's a thing to keep in mind for everyone who has a brand.
Well, I've had a lot of friends from early days of this too, when people weren't taking this serious, or people were out posting things like whatever. Before maybe we even in California were on a lockdown, it was just kind of a thing. I had a lot of Twitter friends like, yo, pay attention to who you follow through this mess and treat them as such afterwards. Like, see who's spitting shit, see who's acting a fool, see who's downgrading this, and who knows, right? Even still, like, I get it. I understand the conspiracy theories. I've been listening to them all with this current situation. I understand it. And some of them, like, there's a side of me like, all right, I get it, but truth is it seems like people are suffering, and let's be responsible humans and take care the best we can. It doesn't hurt me that bad.
Well, our friend Ben Claridad, he named his gym Occam Athletics. Occam's razor is like when you eliminate all of the all the other possibilities, what remains must be true.
Right.
And the other side of that being that the simplest answer,
like most logical answer, is probably true. Yeah.
And another take on that is if you hear hoofbeats, then think horses, don't think zebras.
Yeah.
And I think that just
I've
applies.
Never heard that. I like that.
It just applies all the time. I think that's absolutely true. Most of the time, it's going to be the thing that is obvious. But conspiracy theories are a lot of fun. Another one that really got me for a long, long time was the Kennedy assassination. I was completely fascinated by that.
Did you dig in again? We should do a conspiracy one because it is fun. The funny thing too, just like put this out there, like Jim and I say conspiracy theory, right? Someone who truly believes this thing doesn't say conspiracy theory.
No, they don't.
Right? They say this is what happened. This is what I believe. This is what happened. Right? So we're saying conspiracy theory, and I'm not saying I don't believe some of these things. They're the one that we'll put it out there. I think it's responsible. Well, Jim will edit it out if it's not. The one thing I really am not convinced. I'm not convinced we went to the moon.
Oh, really? I'm fully on board with us going to the moon, and I'll tell you why. Because it would have required too many people to be involved for it to not be true. That's
to stage it.
Yeah,
we had a lot of money, and it was a huge repercussions. There's a huge motive to not go, or there's a huge motive just to prove that we went first.
Well,
right?
Yeah, there's
That's what everyone says about with conspiracies. Like, what's the motive? What's the...
I started this show on Apple TV Plus that I haven't kept up with. I need to get back.
People are gonna hate me now.
Yeah,
I've said that one time. It was someone went awful. I forgot if it was on Twitter or if it was even one of my friends. They hated me that I said I'm not convinced. I'm not saying we didn't. I'm just saying I'm not convinced.
I don't have any problem with that one. That one I completely believe.
Right, that's innocent enough.
Yeah, but that's what it comes down to. Does it hurt anybody for you to believe that or for to say it out loud?
At the time, it probably did. There's a lot of political stuff, and that's where the motive comes with that. I'm not convinced, but. Yeah, at the time it was probably a lot more. It was more important. Having 60 years later, it's not as.
Having read so much about the guys who were pilots who became astronauts,
there's some funny clips though talking about conspiracy theories. Who's the one? Buzz?
Yeah,
bro. There's a video of Buzz saying some weird shit.
Oh, Buzz is nuts though.
Maybe
the thing. Buzz is nuts.
Maybe the memories are coming true. Buzz said, I forgot what he says. The quote's pretty funny. It's something like.
But isn't Buzz the one who punched somebody who said
maybe
he punched a denier? Connor is nodding his head like a bobblehead over there. So, yeah,
I don't know, man. And then the other main reason, I think there's current engineers that took a look at some of the ships they were on, and they're like a 1975 Dodge is built better than this. Like this thing ain't making it anywhere.
That's absolutely true, though. I mean, this stuff the lunar lander was essentially made out of aluminum foil.
Yeah,
like you could punch right through it. You know,
dude.
That's why they're in the spacesuits when they come down, because like who knows if that sucker's leaking or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard it's leaking.
Yeah, I mean all kind of
great
shit could
camera
happen.
work, USA.
Anything could have happened. But this show that I was watching is called For All Mankind, and basically it's Russia beats or the Soviet Union beats America to the moon, and it completely changes like the structure of our society, even because we weren't first, and
right. That's where my motive of the conspiracy.
Yeah, no, they killed some people on the way trying to get there.
Yeah,
and they would have killed more.
Yeah, world power was literally involved
to try to get to that point. Now, you know, the Soviets don't actually. I don't think they in the show. I don't think they really maintained a structural advantage, but they certainly won the opinion war around it.
Yeah.
But
going to your JFK thing, wasn't it last year, 2 years ago? They released some of the highly confidential files on that in Area 51. Did you think of that?
There's a bunch of it is
now released.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of it that they put off. It was supposed to be X number of years after Kennedy died that they were supposed to release a bunch of stuff, and the government still either redacted or held back a bunch of stuff. So who knows?
I didn't know.
But I mean,
we're not digging into this too much after we just bashed all this. Princess Diana. I didn't know she was like the conspiracy with JFK is similar to Princess Diana theory. Their theories are similar. Yeah.
I don't know much about that one, other than I know that
she just died in like a random car in a parade, right? I was too young.
No. What happened was she had gotten divorced from Prince Charles.
Yeah,
and then she had been seeing a Middle Eastern businessman I believe in the oil industry.
Okay,
I think that he came from a family that had a lot of oil money.
Seeing him as in dating him, or like seeing him as just literally seeing him?
Dating him.
Okay,
dating him. And they were constantly being followed by the paparazzi.
Gotcha.
And so they were trying to get away from photographers and video people or whatever who were trying to film them.
Yeah.
And they were in their car.
Yeah.
And they were essentially being chased by these people. And the
driver crashed.
The driver crashed them into a pylon that was like holding up a bridge or whatever, and they all died.
Yeah,
I think that the driver had actually been drinking too.
Oh yikes! Because the conspiracy, I guess, why I say they're the same is that some people think it's the government trying to hush them down.
Yeah,
or Secret Service or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely,
because I saw an interview. I've never seen her talk. I know her face. I heard that story because it happened 94 or something. I was alive, but I wasn't alive. I was 8. But I heard her speak, and one, she speaks insanely well. Like she was very charismatic. But she was basically talking, and this was on. Yeah, she was basically just talking how like women have been hushed down forever, and the government may not like her because she doesn't hush down, and she's a strong woman, and et cetera, et cetera. And so then pieced it together. I was like, oh, that at least again, the motive, why some puzzle pieces kind of fit.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely knew stuff about the royal family that they didn't want her to talk about, but the chances that she would actually talk about it would
probably low. Yeah.
Probably low. Was she an advocate for a lot of particular ideas and
some change
and I think that's why Meghan and Harry left the family essentially, because like she's like, you know, he would probably roll with whatever, and he'd been pretty independent. He was in the military, and he took that very seriously. And
talk about a weird life though, like you're just raised in this bubble.
Yeah, exactly, and not
that's all you know.
Not largely not by your parents.
No, by the government in a way, really.
Yeah, in a way. And so you could see why they walked away. Sure. I mean, she was really taking a lot of heat.
Yeah,
she might have been afraid for her life. Who knows?
Who knows? It is interesting,
but it's possible. But damn, I really, really went deep down the hole with the JFK thing.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not affecting anybody's life by thinking that there's possible that there are other solutions. There's a podcast that I can't remember the name of.
And again, framing, right? How we talk about this. Right. We say like I heard or who knows or and it's 70 years old.
Yeah, no. I listened to a podcast about the conspiracy or theories around JFK's brother Robert being shot. I remember that very specifically. I was like, I think I had just turned 5.
Yeah.
And I could remember it happening. He was campaigning here in California when he was shot. And I remember like being in downtown Stockton and walking past the campaign headquarters, and they had painted "Pray" on the window. After he was shot before he died.
That's what like some of the stuff now, like to tie this thing up, like I'm driving around and like some of the restaurants. I haven't heard of anything happening. I think when we had Dan on, we had heard somebody crashed into a gun store here and stole a bunch of guns. Like that's pretty crazy apocalyptic type vibe. But there's some, and I haven't heard, but there's a lot of restaurants here in Sacramento and small businesses that are all boarded up, like trying to protect their glass. Right. And I haven't heard of a lot of break-ins per se, but like that driving around, then you're like, fuck, this is a weird vibe.
That part, it does seem weird, and some of those places might never open again. We'll see.
No, that's the saddest part. Yeah,
we'll see.
Who knows?
But I don't know. I guess just the real bottom line in all this stuff is don't be so thirsty that you say things that can hurt people. That's
Well, and tie it into to the bigger picture of what's going on in the world. We have a responsibility, I think, just to be a good human. And I don't know why, but and maybe it's because I was raised religious or I just had good parents. But like just the simple golden rule, just treat others like you want to be treated. And in this time, that means the social distancing thing for a while, and it's not that big of a deal. On the bigger picture, it means having a responsibility of how you talk, conduct, act, work. There's a responsibility there, and I think. Not to sound like the old guy, but like, a different generation and different types of humans. Obviously, it's been around, but a different generation just seems to lack that a little bit. And a lot of humans seem to lack that. So the better we can be to each other, I think the better you can be to yourself, taking care of yourself, your loved ones, but also having just a little bit of responsibility of the bigger picture.
Yeah. And don't take the position that every quirk of your personality is a wrinkle that's going to make you more interesting to everybody else. I think that's fairly important,
especially like a time like this. Like that's probably the last thing any of us need to worry about.
Yeah.
Right. Like, am I the cool guy? Am I not the cool guy? Am I probably like, let's just get through this silly mess and then we'll take it step by step. But hopefully we'll talk to Brandon Campbell. I'm gonna text him. We got content. So if you're bored, we got you.
We'll
every Wednesday.
We're still threatening to go to more than once a week. Just this scheduling became difficult this week in large part because my roof leaked again, and so I had men on my roof, literally like on the other side of that wall, working yesterday, and it was loud and not all in English, and so it would have been disconcerting. And then I had worked on this consulting project until 6:00 yesterday morning, because apparently I still can't write until I'm completely exhausted, and it shuts off the editor in my head, my filter. Yeah. So I can just, and I was writing for a board of directors, and so like there's a particular way that you need to talk to people. That I think is what it comes down to. A lot of it too is like you need to know your audience.
Yeah.
and how they're going to react to what you're saying. And I'm a very like dense writer, so there's a lot of little twists and turns and nuances in what I write, and so it takes a lot of energy, and it's hard if my brain is constantly telling me that whatever is coming out is not quite good enough. I have to get stuff down to actually work. So anyway, I was exhausted yesterday, and I didn't think that a guest or or even recording it all yesterday was the thing to do.
And even do us a favor, because we did get some feedback that you guys enjoyed just us rambling, maybe an older style podcast that we may have been a part of, where we just talk, maybe interview some folks, maybe just have some fun and sit around with old friends. So let us know. Twitter, Silent Mike, Twitter, the Jim McD.
Yep.
Check us out. Hit us. Rating and review. But yeah, hit us up on Instagram. We love seeing you guys reshare the content that you like. Any notes, any love, and any suggestions, we're always open.
A minimalist version of the website is up now. Not everything works, but every episode is there currently. Some of them have the video version connected to it. We're going to build that out over time. It is 50percentfacts.com, where percent is a word and 50 numbers. Well, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.